Tony.
Jackie.
I'm Abby.
Todd.
I'm Kyle. Over the course of humanity, housing, workplaces, and recreational buildings have altered to fit the ever-changing needs of human civilization. With our new design techniques, modern tools, and enhanced building materials, each era of our society has a different style and formality to create a new statement resembling that time period. The Neolithic era, or the Stone Age, was primarily a hunting and gathering society. When humans began to settle down, they started to domesticate crops and needed to protect their cultivations from natural elements and predators. Because of their minimal resources, people were forced to use raw stone and place them together like a jigsaw puzzle to form a basic four-wall rough exterior, oftentimes built around pre-existing caves or natural shelters. These buildings were usually built with a wood-latched roof and contained all necessary living quarters in one place. Some of these structures remain standing in many parts of Europe and North Africa. A couple thousand years later came the Bronze Age, a time where the Greeks and the Romans began to create urban settlements with awe-striking buildings and high-volume ceilings with massive archways and intricate artwork covering the exterior and interior of the structure. These buildings were often temples to honor and reflect the power of the different gods in their religion. They believed if they could honor their gods and reach out to them, their spirits would be honored. Unlike other countries, the structural principles of Chinese architecture has varied little from the early civilization to modern times. For instance, the multi-peaked roof lines of their buildings form a sense of cultural identity for the Chinese culture. The purpose of the sculptures, wooden trim work, and symbols were used to honor the spirits of their ancestors and other creatures that are influential in their religion. These decorational aspects of their building uphold the same purpose as they did 1,000 years ago. Perhaps one place where architecture has evolved the most is Europe. European architecture spans from appearances from the medieval era, Romanesque era, Gothic era, Renaissance era, and many other inspirational architectural periods. In the early part of the European society, Romans were dominant and controlled most of the European continent. So it's not a surprise that most of Europe's building designs were based on Roman architecture. However, they also assimilated principles from many established cultures from East Asia and Africa with Roman design. These Europeans took the early techniques from the Romans, Asians, and Africans, and then mastered and emphasized the building, quality, and design of their structures. Modern materials were used, which gave access to new radical design as European architecture progressed. In some respects, European architecture was formed as a type of art from the differing cultural history of their continent. Modern architecture has a primarily simplistic design. Modern building tools, techniques, and materials allow architects to expand the horizon and push the boundaries of engineering and human capability. With complex design of steel beams, bolts, and screws, we are able to erect skyscrapers that have a grace and simplicity to them. A new wave of today's buildings are also created to blend into their environment and incorporate natural stones and sod like the Stone Age. With early civilizations creating buildings purely for functionality and today's designs created as statement pieces, it seems the functionality of buildings has changed. However, with the reoccurring building materials like stone and sod, basic principles of engineering, and the main purpose to house humans while they sleep, work, and play, doesn't it seem like we have come to a complete cycle of architecture from the Stone Age to modern times?